Hello and welcome back to Gospel First. And today we're going to be focusing on James chapter 3 through 5. Now, these chapters teach us that something as small as our words can quietly shape our relationships, influence our faith, and reveal what is truly happening inside our hearts. Most people underestimate the power of their words. We often think our biggest spiritual battles are about major decisions or life changing events. But James points us towards something much closer to home. He points us toward our tongue, toward the words that we speak every day, toward the conversation that we have with our spouses, our children, our friends, our coworkers, and even ourselves. Because according to James, our words are revealing far more than we realize. So let's find out what they're revealing, shall we? Have you ever said something in a moment and immediately wished that you could take it back? Maybe it happened during an argument. Maybe it happened when you were tired, frustrated, or hurt. Maybe it was a comment spoken in anger, or a criticism that cut deeper than you intended, or a sarcastic remark that seemed harmless at first. And the moment the words left your mouth, you knew. You wished that you could pull them back, but you couldn't. Because it only takes a few seconds for words to cause damage. A relationship that took years to build can be wounded by a single sentence. A child's confidence can be strengthened or weakened by a parent's words. A marriage can be blessed by words of encouragement or harmed by words spoken carelessly. Now, James understands this reality, and that's why he spends so much time talking about the power of the tongue. James writes in James chapter 3 verse 5, "Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts." Then he gives us a vivid image. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. Now, the point is simple. Small words can have enormous consequences. Now, a tiny spark can destroy thousands of acres of forest. Likewise, a few careless words can damage trust, create division, spread rumors, or wound someone's spirit. James wants us to understand that the tongue may be small, but its influence is enormous. Yet, James isn't simply talking about controlling our speech, he's talking about something deeper. Because our words don't just reveal what we're thinking, they reveal what's happening in our hearts. Now, Jesus taught the same principle when he said in Luke chapter 6, verse 45, "For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of." In other words, our words are often symptoms of deeper spiritual conditions. If bitterness fills the heart, bitterness eventually comes out. If pride fills the heart, pride eventually comes out. If anger fills the heart, anger eventually comes out. But if Christ fills the heart, something different begins to emerge. Kindness, patience, encouragement, grace, compassion. This is why James moves from discussing the tongue to discussing wisdom. Then he writes in James 3, chapter 17, "But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere." Notice how every one of those qualities affects how we speak to others. Heavenly wisdom doesn't merely change our vocabulary, it changes our character, and changed character produces changed conversations. I can think of moments in my life when I spoke too quickly, moments when frustration got ahead of wisdom, moments when emotion moved faster than patience. And almost every time I found myself needing to go back and repair the damage. Maybe you've experienced that too. Because once words leave our mouths, they carry weight. We can apologize, we can seek forgiveness, and thankfully we should. But often the impact of our words remain long after the conversation is over. That's why James challenges us to slow down. Early in his letter, he taught in James 1, verse 19, "Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Now imagine how many conflicts could be avoided if we simply followed that counsel. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. Those three principles alone could transform marriages, families, friendships, congregations, and communities. But James isn't finished. As he approaches the end of his letter, he continues emphasizing the connection between belief and behavior. He says in James chapter 2, verse 17, he taught faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Now we see that our speech is one of the clearest examples of that principle. Our words and our lives should tell the same story. If we speak of Christ, our actions should reflect Christ. If we speak of forgiveness, we should be forgiving. If we speak of kindness, we should be kind. If we speak of faith, we should trust God in our daily lives. Eventually, people stop listening to what we say, and they begin watching how we live. Our families watch, our friends watch, our children watch. And often the most powerful sermon we ever preach is the life that we live every day. James here is inviting us to ask a serious question. Do my words point people toward Christ or away from him? Do my conversations build others up or tear them down? What are my words revealing about the condition of my heart? Because our words are often the window through which others see our discipleship. Now, picture yourself standing before God one day. Every conversation is known. Every action is remembered. Every success, every failure, every careless word, every moment when you fell short. And perhaps for a moment, you're tempted to focus on your mistakes, the words you wish you could take back, the opportunities you missed, the times you failed to live what you believed. But then Christ steps forward, not because you earned it, not because you were perfect, but because he loves you. And he says, he's with me. She's with me. And in that moment, grace speaks louder than regret. Mercy speaks louder than failure. And the Savior, he reminds us that while our words matter, his redeeming power is greater still. He can heal broken relationships. He can soften hardened hearts. He can help us become the disciples we desire to be. And through his grace, our words can begin reflecting his love more and more each day. Well, that's it for another day. Thank you for staying faithful to the journey. May the Spirit continue to fill your heart and draw you closer to Jesus Christ. If your heart feels even a gentle nudge, I invite you to like, subscribe, and share so that we can spread the gospel of Jesus Christ together. And I'll see you next time as we continue our studies in 1 Peter chapter 1, where we'll discover what it means to remain faithful when you feel out of place in the world around you. Until then, God bless.